Howdy, folks. Today is let's see, what is today? The 9th of March, 2025. Out here in the shop, and I was just tinkering on some junk and realized I hadn't posted a video in a while. So, if you follow my channel, you know I got this Trans Am a little over a month ago. I was gung-ho about keeping it all original, but then I changed my mind when I took the engine out of it to fix a bunch of oil leaks that it had. This car sat for a long time before I got it and got it running and drove it around for a couple of days, and it developed oil leaks from both ends. So I decided to pull the engine out to fix all that. And in the process of doing that, I decided it would be foolish to put a 305 back in this car. So I picked up a 400 small block that I'm going to put in place of the 305. It's at the machine shop right now having the machine work done. I'll probably have that back next weekend, I hope. In the meantime, I was doing some tractor work today down in the woods, and when I came back up, put my tractor up in the shed, I was staring at this old 230 that's been sitting in my shed for a couple of years that I took out of a 1964 Impala a couple years ago before I junked it. Anyway, I've been thinking about getting this engine running just for something to do, because I like to do that kind of stuff. It does turn, it turns free, and it has compression, so I figure that it will run. I have all the stuff for it. Clutch, flywheel, all the clutch linkage, bell crank, all that stuff, bell housing, transmission. It had a later model Saginaw 3-speed on it, but I'm not sure it was original to the car. I think it originally had an earlier Muncie style 3-speed in it that had a non-synchronized first gear. Not sure, but I don't need much to get this thing running. I think all I need is a set of points and a new condenser and a rotor button for the distributor. It had a good cap with it, but for some reason the rotor button was missing. So I need that. I think I got some plug wires and stuff laying around here that will work. It did have a good starter on it. The starter worked. I took all that stuff off to put it on the engine stand here. But shouldn't take much to get it running. I am going to drop the oil pan and clean it out. I'm sure that it's full of garbage. I don't think this engine has run since sometime in the 1990s. It's probably been close to 30 years since it was run last. So I'm sure it's got some tar in the bottom of the pan I need to get cleaned out. So that's one thing that's going on around here. There's the 305 out of the Trans Am. I did take it apart. Well, I pulled the pan and the heads and everything off of it and replaced all the gaskets, replaced the fiber timing gear that was in it with a steel gear. And I did all that thinking that I was going to put it back in the car, but then I changed my mind after I had it all put back together. This is the oil pan out of the 400, or off of the 400. It was pretty bad shape, but I've got it cleaned up. I did cut the baffle out of it to get it good and clean. I always do that when I'm going to reuse an old pan, because you just never know what's up in behind there where you can't get. So I'll have to tack weld that back in when I get ready. This is another small block that I've had laying around here for a while. This is a 4-bolt main 350, mid-70s block. It's 30 over. Doesn't have a lot of miles on it since that machine work was done. I picked it up a few years ago for $100. It was a complete engine. It even had a nice Edelbrock intake manifold on it. Kid bought a 70s Camaro and was going to do an LS swap and didn't want this, so I took it off his hands. My plans are, I have a balanced rotating assembly for a 383 that I'm going to install in this engine block right here whenever I get time. It was under my steps back there where the 305 was for a while, and I pulled it out yesterday and put it up on the stand here. I'm going to disassemble it and get the block clean. It's got a lot of paint on it that I want to get off. Too much stuff. There's a little generator that I had. It's been sitting under those steps for a while. I think it was under there about 4 years and never touched it. And when I dragged it out yesterday and opened the fuel tank, it looked like the La Brea tar pits in the fuel tank, and it only took 4 years for that to happen. I was shocked. And so obviously the fuel tank that goes on it is not here. That boat tank just happens to fit there pretty nice. And so that's what it's gonna have now rather than the steel tank. This is the clutch linkage that was on that 230 when I took it out of the car. Check that out. Ever seen anything like that? Crazy. There's the balancer off of my 400. Got it cleaned up. Check out these valve springs. These came off of the heads that were on the 400. Can you see the stepped height difference in these springs? I think there's about 6 or 7 springs that are shorter than the rest of the springs. This one here on the end is the worst. And if you look closely, you can see that it's a blue. And I don't know why it's blue. There were about 3 exhaust valve, rocker arms, and push rods and springs in this engine that were blue. Obviously they got hot for some reason, but I don't know why. The engine was in good condition when I took it apart. No scored pistons or anything that would, indicate that it got hot. The only thing I can think of is maybe, it was pretty nasty on the inside, and maybe it stopped getting oil to a couple of these rockers, and they just got hot and transferred the heat down to the stem and the springs. I don't know. But even the ones that got hot, if you look at them here, these are cleaned up right now. They're kind of black, but the pivot points are not damaged. I mean, just smooth. So I don't know. It's a first for me, and I've worked on a lot of small block Chevrolets. Well, I think that's all for tonight. It's getting late. Daylight savings time always keeps me out in the garage too late. Thanks for watching.